Yes, this is DJ Ski.
I'm Jeff Wilson.
Hey guys, Andy Broom, Vice President CGC Cards.
Hey, this is Jason Howard with Panini.
Yo, I'm Q Harrison.
This is Teapot from Sports Card Investor.
I'm loving the content.
Loving the content here.
The Sports Card Strategy Show.
The Sports Card Strategy Show.
This is the Sports Card Strategy Show with your man, Paul Hickey. What's good?
Part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, the #1 place for advice on how to make money flipping sports cards. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, there is no off-season.
You already know, there is no off-season.
No off-season!
All right, you ready to rock?
Ready to go.
When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because sometimes when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own. Thugging it out on your own.
The kids better buy my rookie card now, because after this year, the price ain't coming down.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Paul Hickey. It's time to sit back, listen, learn, and earn with me on the Sports Card Strategy Show. It's much better than thugging it out on your own. Paul Hickey, Lefty, McKee, ready to help you make money flipping sports cards. What's up, Lefty? How you doing, man?
I'm just trying to thug it out with you, honestly. So I'm not trying to thug it out on my own. I'm trying to thug it out in community at the Sports Card Strategy Show. Bye-bye.
No off season, family. What is up? We want to thug it out with all of you. Card Snatcher and Ted Roberts are already in the house. Good to see you guys. Halls.co, Kevin McCullough, Aaron Crane, Papa Wax Picker is from Australia, I think. What's up, Papa Wax Picker? And Hobby Guys Co. Drop a note in the live chat on YouTube or Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out. Thanks for joining us. And of course, we know most of you are with us on Apple and Spotify, so welcome in. We're so happy to have you with us. Are you tracking your sports card profit and loss sheet properly in 2025? Sports Card School and our inventory tracker help you to do so. Go premium at nooffseason.com. There's multiple pricing tiers. It's all the same great content. We give you the tiers because we give you the option. Do you want a free 30-day trial? Do you want to go monthly? Do you want to go weekly? If you go free 30-day trial and then go annually after that, it's only 82 cents per day. That's your best deal. That is your best deal. Jaime Corona, Richard Villarreal, Chris Johnson, PGA golf instructor, all in the house. Love that. It's golf season. My daughter's got a match later today. And, we're just enjoying the good weather down here in Tennessee. And I'm also, Lefty, real quick, I'm enjoying my Michigan State Spartan win from last night. Let's go green.
Let's go. Can you hear me? Is everything good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
StreamYard said it lost connection to my mic, and I was just like, looks like everything's fine.
Looks like you're good. I can hear you.
I've been watching the Michigan Sparties, and I even put a
Michigan State Sparties.
Okay, sorry.
Michigan is a whole other school that we don't like.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to talk about those losers who beat my Aggies.
Yeah,
sheesh.
Exactly.
Anyway, the Michigan State Sparties, I put a little future on them to win their pool, like their little geographical region on the bracket. So I'm
Atta baby. Good work, Lefty. Good work. Well, we'll talk more about Michigan State because I think they should have cards for a guy named Cohen Carr. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. That dude, I mean, I could go on a rant, but I won't. Are you guys having problems buying into too many breaks? We want to help you beat the break. Email me, paul@nooffseason.com. I'll get you some help. And wouldn't there be nice if there was a tool you could just upload pictures of a card and it would tell you a recommendation, maybe what it would grade, maybe what it would be worth in the future? Well, we built one, right, Lefty?
I would love to do that. How can I do that?
Well, you can go to nooffseason.com and you can use our card analyzer and predictor tool. So go check that out. Lefty, let's hop into just, some hobby related news from over the past week. I typically don't do this for those of you who are new to the show. But I thought it was really cool. I saw CGC Cards graded a Wemby rookie Logoman 2 out of 5, numbered 2 out of 5. So the Wemby Logoman was graded by CGC Cards, our friends at CGC Cards, and it got a mint plus, a 9.5 mint plus. So congratulations to whoever's card that is.
Huge card to grade there.
Oh my God. B, CGC Cards for grading it. Yeah, Lefty. I mean, and there's a link to the auction. Let's see if the auction. Okay, the auction's at Golden. Let's see if we can get some information on if it's sold or what, if there's bids on it or what. Okay, so
it looks great in this holder.
It does. You're right. Props to CGC Cards, the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. It does look good. So Golden right now, 5 bids. There's 5 days left, and it's at $19,000. Now that's $23,180 with the buyer's premium. For those of you not familiar with like these auction houses, how they do it, Golden and Fanatics Collect, I believe, are pretty similar. The buyer's premium is a fee assessed to the winning bidder, which is 22% of the final bid price of items purchased. So it's actually like
insane, by the way.
Yeah, it's basically, I believe that's how the auction houses make their money. And then I believe the seller gets the entire amount of the winning bid, and then the auction houses typically make their money on the buyer's premium. But I think what happens with a lot of auctions like this, these high-end auctions, is that if it's a super desirable card, and I would think this Wemby Logoman 2 out of 5 would fit the criteria for this. If you're Golden or if you're Fanatics Collect, like they're competing against each other, right? So I believe that like in order to get the owner of the card to auction it with them, they'll say, hey, well, we're going to give you, 90% of the buyer's premium also. So it's not necessarily like Golden's going to make 22% on this card. They might make 10%, and then they might have incentivized the seller to sell this card there by saying, hey, we'll give you 12% of the buyer's premium. It's all different in each scenario, but I learned a lot about that from our friend Cody Krim at Texas Roadshow. He obviously is a wealth of knowledge, so shout out to him.
Yeah, because last week the Paul Skeens debut auction from Fanatics Collect ended at $1,110 on 64 bids with the buyer's premium. And so that brings up the conversation again that we've talked about several times over the last year, is like when it is or recorded on some of our apps like Market Movers or things like this, is it the bid with the buyer's premium that's recorded or not with the buyer's premium? And I would assume it's with the buyer's premium at this point, especially because this sold listing from the debut patch from Paul Skeens says $1,110,000, and that is sold.
I think you're right. We can dig into that, but I think you're right because, like that is what the card, like that's the total amount that somebody paid for the card. So that would make sense.
Which means like where this Wemby is at right now, it's actually should say that the bidding is at 2,300 or 23,180.
Right. 23,100. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think you're right. I think that whole thing's a little confusing, but I mean, to me, eBay's less confusing, where it's just like, this is what the price of the card is. And then the seller only gets whatever because we take the fees out, but whatever. I mean, there's fees everywhere, and that's kind of what the buyer's premium is. I think it's actually misleading to the bidder is what it is. I think. I mean, because if you place bid and you put in 19,100 or 20,000 or whatever, it might take that bid, but it might say you also owe the buyer's premium, or it might say, well, before we take this bid from you, you have to agree that it does include the buyer's premium or whatever. Either way, it's a little little misleading. So, lot going on. Lefty, we've got Zach Ellsworth, Andrew McDade, George Schur, and Brandon Meisner in the house. Brandon Meisner says, who's ready for opening day? I know it's this time of year, everyone, it's a great time of year for sports. Lefty, talk about it. Opening day. What do you like? What do we need to look out for here?
Well, what we do need to look out for is I've listed every single one of my baseball cards from the vault. I'm not keeping anything. Everything is at auction. I'm excited about opening day. I think I will be at opening weekend for the Reds. I'm gonna go up there and watch a game. I'm very excited about all that. And I think this is an exciting selling marker for all of us. Like, it should be a time where those of us that have quite a few baseball cards take mega profit and move it into other areas, which is what we're going to talk about later in the show about where we can potentially move it to. But you should be selling most of your cards, unless they're like, for instance, I have some Acuñas at PSA right now and some other things that are going to require Ronald Acuña to come back and play. Like we are buying those cards over the last 6 months, expecting him to return to his all-star self. And so like maybe that would be, or like we talked about Vladdy Guerrero Jr. being a sell in July. But other than that, like if it's anything else that you're holding other than guys that you're looking forward to over the past couple of months, we've talked about their selling markers being in July, or if you're currently at grading, you should be moving out of everything.
Moving out of everything. I mean, I think that's smart. We've learned this in previous baseball seasons, and we've talked about how baseball has sort of followed a similar pattern to football, where you have this interest level rising before the season starts or that first week of the season. And then after that, it's kind of like, well, we love baseball, but we want to see what happens. We want to see who's in contention. We want to see who the MVP candidates are, who's hitting home runs, obviously there are some pitchers that have kind of been piquing the interest of sports card investors in the last couple of years, which is interesting because before that there weren't pitchers. So it's kind of a wait and see approach after like the first week. So I do think for those reasons, getting your cards listed while everyone's interested is a smart idea. So yeah, good stuff there. And we'll talk more baseball throughout the coming weeks for sure. Speaking of baseball, as we look at our sports card rankings at nooffseason.com, we have movements that we track. We talked a little bit about this last week, and we rank our sports cards by projected ROI percentage. So it's a recommendations engine. It doesn't just tell you the data of what cards have sold for. It tells you, based on historical pattern recognition, what our recommendations are based on our formula's projected ROI percentage. And so a big name moved up by 46%. So now Shohei Ohtani's Topps 2018 Future Stars Black PSA 10. You can make 63% on that card based on our recent formula updates for our sports card rankings. In order to make that percentage, though, to make 63%, you would have to buy it at its last 30-day average of $110. Now, the projected average sale price is based on more of a 90 to 180-day average on that card, which is $300. So it's not that you're guaranteed to sell it for $300 if you buy it for $110, but out of all the cards that are already graded that we run through our formula, that's number one because it has the highest projected return on investment, aka upside based on historical data. And it is conservative. Shohei doesn't necessarily have to perform the way that he performed last year to get to the selling marker of $300. But that name, I obviously get excited about because that's the number one name in baseball right there. And he's a player that I have allowed myself to buy. And then the rest are all football players. One is a European European vernacular of the term football, soccer, obviously in America. And then we've got 3 other American football players. But before we move to the other already graded formula movers, Lefty, what's your take just overall on, Ohtani and the Dodgers? And I mean, we've seen his prices just, yes, they dip in the offseason. So yes, there are opportunities to buy into him. But generally, if you were to look year over year at like all of his cards and look at the same date range year over year, it's generally going up each year. Do you think that continues?
I don't know where the hype goes from here is my question. Which is what I would have told you 2 years ago, so it's
Right.
like, I didn't expect them to have the 3-headed monster of Roki, Yamamoto, and him. But I just don't know where it goes from here unless they sign Murakami and then they just become an all Japanese team or something. There also is a kid from Stanford that forewent MPB and also went to Stanford, and now he's mirrored himself after Shohei's trajectory, but he's a couple of years out, and maybe if he gets drafted by the Dodgers, it could go up again. But I think this would probably be, the best moment in the Dodgers recent, like in the next 4 or 5 years, because if they don't win this year, it's going to be like, what the heck happened? Because now everything's kind of played correctly at this point. They've won. They went and moved. They moved for Shohei. They moved for some other superstars. They won the World Series. They kind of got all of it off. And then they bring in Yamamoto. They bring in Roki. Now they've spent a bunch of money. They've delayed it all. If it doesn't pan out, like I would say maybe 3 over the next 5 years, they're going to see a seemingly loss. It's going to be a seemingly bad investment. And so I just don't want to bet on something that very rarely happens in Major League sports, where you see a perennial champion at the highest level like this. We haven't seen that in a long time. So I don't know. I just don't think that you can go much higher than this. I think it's got to be you move out now. And that even goes for yourself. Like I wouldn't say now as in today, but I'd say now as in this year. I wouldn't be investing in the next 2 to 3 year frame for Shohei. For sure not. I mean, I would say in the next 4 to 5, he's probably breaking some records. So maybe you can buy back in. But I would say like now would be a good year to be taking profits on Shohei if you're holding for the long term.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis. I would say, and we'll get into more of my Shohei strategy in one of the segments later on today, but in general, I'm looking at really just, you got to buy in at the target cost. And the target cost, we documented at nooffseason.com for all of the cards that we rank. If you're buying in at the target cost, it's kind of your safety net. It's kind of like worst case scenario, you're probably going to break even. And because it's Shohei, you have an even better chance to profit. But I generally think that Shohei probably there probably is a lot built into his pricing. You can't really do buy it nows. You got to be careful with best offers because people have inflated his value a lot. So I think it's Shohei is either a raw to grade play, and there are a lot of raw to grade options at nooffseason.com as well in our rankings, or he's a fade unless you can get it for the target cost or under the target cost, which you could say, hey, target cost equals 30-day average of comps kind of a thing. But I agree with Lefty in that we could see his prices dip over the next couple of years, probably not by much, before they would then come back up again. So if you're a set it and forget it type of person, Shohei is still probably a good pick. If you're an in and out type of person like me, I think, that's why the raw to grade and the buying it at the target cost makes a lot of sense. And then selling sometime during this season, during a performance spike, like Lefty's saying. But if you're someone who's kind of like in the middle or you don't know, he could be kind of dangerous to buy into because he's so expensive, and it will take a lot probably to move his pricing because he has played so well. Now, the one thing that could be the X factor this year, the counterpoint to what Lefty said could be like if he ends up pitching this year or next year
that's
or
true.
something,
Yeah.
and then ends up having another season like he did a couple of seasons ago where he was pitching and hitting at the highest possible level. So
here's a scenario that I think could vault his that you bring a great point up. He's been a starter for his whole career as at the pitching. I think there's always been this natural discourse over, does he become one of the most dominant closers of all time? And that way he can play the entire game as a hitter and then potentially pitch like maybe 5 times a week, 5 out of 7 days potentially. Now, if that happens, if they're like, okay, it's time, they do this and he comes in from the dugout, right? I think that whole scenario could make him like, he's already in some senses godlike, but that could transcend even that, where it's just like think of an Edwin Diaz, the trumpets going with the Mets and he's coming out of the bullpen. Imagine Shohei doing something like that. People would just die. People would just immediately pass out of how cool.
I mean, that would be so cool. It's so cool that you brought that up, because imagine like the Shohei cam that's like following him from the dugout, like the back,
yes,
the back through the locker room area all the way around to the bullpen. And then he warms up in the bullpen, and then they call him in, and it's like this whole situation where that, and then that's on social media. And yeah,
I'm going to paint a scenario for you. They're down by 2 in the 8th inning, and they're at home, right? So they're down in the 8th inning. Shohei comes up to bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, hits a 3-run home run. They're up by 1. Immediately, he goes to the bullpen and immediately comes out to close the game right after that. Like, that would be electric.
He could get the win and the save in the same game. No, that couldn't be the case.
Theoretically,
that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen.
Walk off and then get.
He'd get the walk off and the save. Yeah, that'd be sick.
But that would just be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. All right, so a lot of excitement around baseball, which is good. Now, let's go to the footballer, Messi. So Messi, his 2022 Prism World Cup PSA 10. Now you can make 38% on that. So before this most recent update in the already graded formula, you could only make 2%. So target cost is $52 in a PSA 10. ROI is now 38%. Lefty, what are the selling markers for Messi?
Yeah, I think Messi's been a guy that I was going to talk about last week in my, from left field, but I think Messi's market is in a really low spot right now because he's been injured. He's been Argentina has kind of already done their World Cup tour run thing. Inter Miami's hype is a little bit like it's gone a little bit. I think we've come off the bubble of Messi. It's popped. And now we're, I think, down to some sort of natural resistance line. And I think that's really good for an investor. So I think from this point, Lionel Messi is still going to have good days ahead of him. But I think the selling marker would naturally be between now and the 2026 World Cup. You're going to see people buying into Messi. We've talked about this a couple of times over the last couple of years as well, about like how people think the buying marker or the buying into him is going to be a month before the World Cup, and they're going to be like, I'm going to buy now, so then when he wins the World Cup, I can sell in a month. Well, if we are playing 2 steps ahead of that, and we're buying the cards now that people can be buying on the way up, we're still making a good profit, but it's still giving room for them to eat off of as well. Like, that's best case scenario for us. So I think Messi for me is maybe not always a good buy, but almost always a good buy. And now is a really good time. When I see Messi's cards in the red on market movers, I get a little bit itchy to try to find more funds for my sports cards so that I can go make more plays on Lionel Messi. I just think it's such an easy sell. It's kind of like having a Jordan card. Like, people are going to buy it. And so like if you can find somebody that's going to buy it at the price that you are comfortable with, then it's a go for me. And I think this World Cup card, this 2022 one, is a good place to start because of the price point at it.
Yeah, $52. So if you're new to the game and you're thinking, hey, these guys barely talk about soccer, what's a good way to get started in soccer cards? A card like that would be great. So Lionel Messi, 2022 Prism World Cup PSA 10. Make sure you get it for $52 though. Don't pay more than that. All right, and this next one is interesting because we're in the NFL hot stove season, if you will, right? We've got free agency and the NFL draft coming up in a month. Najee Harris signs with the Los Angeles Chargers, former Pittsburgh Steelers running back, and his 2021 Prism Silver PSA 10 is up in terms of ROI percentage. So that means, just for everybody, other sports card content creators will talk about a card being up. They're talking about the card's value. I'm talking about the value that you could get for it. It's actually down right now to the point where if you buy it right now for $24, we believe that by the NFL season, that card is going to go up so that you can make 4% on it. Now, 4% on a $24 investment is not that big of a deal. But what's cool about that is our formula is super conservative, right? What if Najee Harris comes into the Los Angeles Chargers and actually reaches his true first-round draft status potential with the Jim Harbaugh running attack and arguably a better quarterback situation in LA with Justin Herbert. So does this change of scenery for a guy like Najee Harris put you in a position where, if he has a big week in weeks 1 through 4, a spike week, as we say, as a football card term, that's not a bad buy. I mean, $24. Now, conversely, Lefty and I would typically say this would be a selling marker for maybe some other Najee Harris cards. Like if you've been holding Najee Harris cards for a while and you start to see more interest, more eBay searches and bids for that card that you own, more and even more sales for a card that you own for Najee Harris, it can be a selling marker, but it can be a buying opportunity at the same time if you pick the right card and you get it for the right price. We got a couple of quarterbacks to talk about real quick. Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. So Jared Goff was a guy Lefty made some money on last year. Looks like it could be a great time to buy his 2016 Select Concourse PSA 10. Target cost $39 and ROI, projected ROI 33%. So it used to be a loss of 13% and it's moved up 46%. So 33% ROI that you can make on that card. And then Jalen Hurts Optic Holo, I talked about last week. I love that card. 2020 Optic Holo PSA 10. Target cost $181. So it's gone up a little bit, I think, from when I talked about it, but you can still make 6% on it. And so that to me is a pretty safe card to buy. Again, if you're either looking for some steady investments to offset your risks in your sports card portfolio and you've been flipping for a while, or if you're new to the game and you're like, hey, I really like the Eagles, I really like Jalen Hurts, I really think he's gonna continue to have a good career. What Jalen Hurts card can I buy that makes sense, that's not gonna kill me? I'm not gonna lose on it, but it still has some upside. To me, it would be that 2020 Optic Holo PSA 10. Lefty, any comments on any of those NFL players?
Yeah, some brief comments. I think it's awesome to see how many Jared Goff cards are listed on eBay because they were just incredibly hard to find last year. And now I think there's a healthier market for him, which makes a raw to grade play potentially with Jared Goff a lot more achievable in the future. I wouldn't say do a raw to grade play right now. We're talking about graded to graded, as I like to call it. But it's a little bit, I think it's a healthier market. There's more people invested and interested in Jared Goff, which is always fun. And then the second one, I got into a Jared Goff or a Jalen Hurts 2020 Optic last week for the target price of 165. So this is good.
Hey,
This is
nice.
good for me. So I'm interested in this. I've been making good plays over towards quarterbacks in the past couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about that, I believe, in our next section.
Yeah, let's go to the next segment. So this is play of the month. So I'm excited to talk about this. There's a lot to talk about here, which will be fun. One is I'm going to first go through a couple of plays that I'm in the process of making, and I literally just got an email from eBay that the card is in my mailbox just a few steps away from me. There's 2 cards actually I bought in auctions from Probstein. They should both be in my mailbox right now. It took like 2 weeks extra for them to get here, and I think it was because of maybe some weather issues that we've had in the South lately. But they're here. They're in my mailbox. I'm excited. Arch Manning 2024 Prism Silver Raw from Prism Draft Picks. So just so everybody knows, he was in 2023 Prism Draft Picks, but this card, 2024 Prism Draft Picks, it has been hot. It has been selling very well. It says rated prospect on it, and it's the clean like Prism classic design. So even though he was in 2023 Prism Draft Picks, I don't know that he had like a silver like this or the variations that have come out. So I do think this is a great raw to grade play. You can also see, to me, you can see clearly on the centering, up, down, left, right, on the front and the back, which I really liked about this card. So I won it for $69 on 13 bids. And then the other one, combined shipping here with Probstein, $46 on 12 bids, 2024 Panini Purple Wave Arch Manning rated prospect out of Prism Draft Picks. And again, to me, both of these cards look like they could gem, which is worth my best effort bidding on them. So the play is try to win them in an auction and get them graded. Get gradable copies, get them back, and sell leading up to the 2025 college football season. Arch Madness. Excited about these plays. Finally here in the mailbox. And if you're confused about like the whole grading situation, because I said like gradable, we've got some great resources at nooffseason.com that show you how to find a gradable card online, but also we grade your cards for you through PSA. So if you're confused by grading your cards with PSA, you can grade with us. Send us your cards. We do the hard part and we save you money. We also track your gem rate for you. So I'm excited about my Arch Manning plays. I got one thing I want to ask Lefty about before we segue over to Lefty's play of the month. Actually, 2 things I want to ask Lefty about. But Lefty, do you have any thoughts on my Arch Manning play? Anything you want to add first?
Bro, it's Arch Madness, baby. I can't, it's still March, which means it's Arch Madness buying season. And I have bought quite a bit of Arch this year. Still interested in buying one. And I actually just was perusing earlier today when I started picking up your notes here. And I found a draft picks rated prospect Arch Manning Silver that was at buy it now at $64. So I bought that. So, so I'm in as well on this play. Anything Arch, give it to me at this point. So
yeah, Arch is I think Arch to the moon. Arch Madness is what.
But I love where this conversation is fixing to go.
Okay, so the conversation is fixing to go in a cool direction. But first, I just had something that might not be as fun that hit me today that I threw into the show notes. And I was doing a little bit of analysis for some premium members. And what I realized is that Michael Jordan's 1991 Upper Deck base raw, I realized that it sells like literally raw like 15 times a day, every day.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that there are a lot of other cards that also sell daily that many times, but just that's a lot for those of you who are new to this. Like that's insane. Like that, this is a card that, so, I mean, it's called the SP1, which stands for short print. There's no way this was a short print. This had to be like an overprint, right? Because if it's selling, if it's transacting on eBay 15 times a day raw, it's not a short print. Now, that's not really the rant I'm about to go on, but what I think there's an opportunity out there for people that love transacting in the hobby, like myself, is I think there's an opportunity to, at scale, trade, buy and sell. We'll just use the word trade, but what I mean by trade is buy and sell this card at scale all the time. So if it's trading 15 times a day, that means that any one of us in the nooffseason.com fam could, in theory, bid on this card multiple times a day, win it multiple times a day, depending on condition, for under $15, and then depending on condition, continuously sell it for close to $20. Now, I don't know that you make any money on it unless you do it at scale, but I think that there's other cards out there like this, and I just wanted to lay the groundwork for a potentially new sports card strategy, which we really haven't talked about before, which is going and finding cards that also has upside in PSA 10, by the way. So what you're doing is you're trading it at scale, and as they're coming to you, you're looking for the ones that could gem, you're grading those, and then all the other ones, you're either just flipping it for a wash, or maybe you're making $1 a day, right? And $1 a day, might not seem like a lot, but over time, it can help you in the hobby. Lefty, I don't know, this came out of left field for me earlier today, but what do you think?
Well, Michael Jordan didn't play left field, but I understand. I see where you're going with this. I wanted to point out that if you are getting this card for the target price, let's say, you just standardly put a $15 bid on everything and never go above that, I think you could make money grading and flipping these, because the last sale of a PSA 9, which there's 10,000 PSA 9s, is $45. That's essentially a wash after taxes and fees, or after fees, as we've talked about. But that's the highest percentage. Everything else is pretty normal. So if you say 10s, let's say you buy 25 of them, you relatively PSA 9 most of them, but you PSA 10 1 or 2 of them, you're in the green by a long shot. So the $450 last sale price for the PSA 10 of this, there is 2,500 of those. So it's not a gemmable. It's not a card that doesn't ever gem,
right?
Yeah, and then there also are some PSA 9s that in the past 365 days that have sold for like $70. So it's not unlikely that you're not going to make money on the 9.
That's true, and the other thing too is, $65 sale a couple weeks ago on the 9. The other thing too is I have noticed a lot. We talk about continuously learning. That I think one of the biggest learnings I've had this year already has been a BGS 9.5 and an SGC 10 can be totally different than a PSA 10. Totally different. You can get an SGC 10 that would definitely be a PSA 9.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of people out there that will disagree with me on this. We've all had our own individual experiences. So there's probably a lot of people out there that, have had an SGC 9 that ends up being a PSA 10, or an SGC 9.5 that's a PSA 10. I get that. But I also know from my own experience recently that when I've bought BGS 9.5s or I've bought SGC 10s to crack, I get them with the intention of cracking them. I look at them and I'm like, there is no way this is a PSA 10. And so now it's instead of thinking, do I need to always think of it as a crack and submit to PSA? Now I'm thinking, with a card like this Michael Jordan card, what if you're buying these raw Lefty and you're like, hey, this isn't going to gem at PSA, but if it gems at SGC, it's $225 last sale. If it gems at BGS, it's $167 last sale. So there's something there too with this card, right? You got multiple options. All right. I know you're excited to talk about this next topic. I am too. This showed up in my IG feed today, and I had the reason why I dug into this further to talk to Lefty about it is because I remember watching the 2024 MLB draft. And I remember the Seattle Mariners taking a 21-year-old Dutch pitcher with the 15th overall pick. And I remember it because he's a switch pitcher. And I was like, holy crap. This is a 1 of 1. This player is a 1 of 1. We have never seen this before. And here it is right here on MILB Central on IG. And he's being called a 1 of 1, in the comments here. And it's like, I'm just going to say his name how I would pronounce it. And it's 100% butchering it, but Urangelo Sinte is what I would say. Lefty, do you know how to say this guy's name?
I don't. But I know who he is, and it's Durangelo. But
Durangelo. There we go.
I think it's Cinchi, I think is how I have been hearing it. I have heard it being said, but then again, I haven't seen him on a broadcast necessarily, and I'm not such a sicko that I'm watching Seattle Mariners spring training games. I'm close to that, but I'm not such a sicko that I'm watching those. So. But I have a lot of knowledge about Durangelo as well. So I think go ahead and make your potential play on the eBay card of his that you're going to ask about, because I have quite a bit of
well, yes, and I think this is more of a caution than it is a play for now. And this is the discussion I wanted to have with you. For long-time listeners of the show, they will 100% know where we're going with this. But I think it's important to have this conversation at all times as new people come in, and we want people to be Sports Card Strategy Show, nooffseason.com family members for life here. So I think, here's what I think. This guy is going to get a lot of hype. This guy is going to get a lot of hype with good reason. And we say that hype moves the needle. And we also say like people get duped by hype. Like even the smartest people in our audience get duped by hype and they buy in. And so the point that I want to make is when I searched for his cards after I saw this IG post, that's probably a lot of our process, right? Like probably a lot of you out there, like you might see some news blurb or something on social media, or you might be watching a game and then you search for a player's cards like that. That's how this works. So when I searched for his cards, I saw he doesn't have any Bowman cards out yet. And I wanted to check with Lefty on that. So I did see that he has some autos, but they're Panini Prospect autos. So they're like Panini Prospect Silver Hollow Mariners auto is what I'm looking at right here. This auction for Durangelo, switch pitcher, 23 bids, ends in 1 day. It's at $79. I think I just want to have the conversation, Lefty. Is he in Bowman? If not, when will he be in Bowman? Will he be someone that will be overhyped as a switch pitcher? Will he be overlooked? Thus, maybe there's an opportunity. Like what? Let's just talk about this guy. The floor is yours.
Well, so Brandon Meisner has said, I think I heard it was Sinjay, and I just looked up the pronunciation online, and it is Durangelo Sinjay. So
boom, there we go. Thank you.
That's officially what Google is saying. But so Sinjay is a 1 of 1. You're completely correct. Am I buying these Mississippi State cards right now? No. Am I fully interested in this guy as an investment when he does get Bowman cards? Absolutely. I think that he's a first-round guy who went into a program that has a good history of developing pitchers. They have a good history of having prospects that make something of themselves, and it's a program that isn't necessarily one of those like the A's or something where people are going to say, well, he's a great prospect, but he's an A. No one's going to say, oh, he's a great prospect, but he's a Mariner. They're actually, like, we've seen some guys come up with the Mariners that have had good prospect numbers in terms of cards and dollars sold. I mean, just think about Julio Rodriguez. I mean, he's pretty much proved that the Mariners can develop a guy. In terms of when he's going to have cards, I would expect them to be in Bowman Baseball 2025 that comes out potentially in May. I'd have to check the checklist to see if he's in that, but he was a first round guy, and I believe he was pick number 15 and so that's how much I know about this guy. I actually know which pick he was without even Googling it. So I have him on every one of my fantasy teams, which is something that I dictate as another selling like piece to the puzzle, because if a guy is willing to have hype specifically as a pitcher that early on, I think it's going to be really good. We have seen ambidextrous pitchers before in the MLB. I think we've had one in early 2000, but he wasn't that good. And if you switch to one arm, it was pretty much like, okay, we know a slider or a changeup is coming out of this arm. If he switches to the other arm, it's pretty much a fastball, which basically kills you in the major league, because you're basically tipping your pitches to the nth degree. There are some pitchers that tip their pitches by just like moving their glove a certain way, and they get shelled. So if you're saying, oh, by the way, here comes a curveball, when you switch to your left hand, that's just not a good thing.
It's a good point. That's a great point.
Durangelo can throw over 90 with both of his hands. So, I mean, it's coming. It's mother trucking gas either way, and so you can quote me on that one. It is mother trucking gas. And so this guy is a oddity. He's something that's going to be really, really fun to watch. I do think that he will get a lot of press, and we're already seeing it. He's literally just made a spring training debut. It's not even that big of a deal. Everybody's making a spring training debut when he's a number one prospect. You don't hear anybody else getting the MILB Central, you got to check this guy out. No one's talking about that for the other dudes that were drafted 15th overall. That is a special, unique asterisk quality over a guy that we like to buy into, because that means that people are going to want to buy his cards when we get them. So am I going to be making a play on him? Absolutely. Is he another one of the Paul Skeens, Kumar Rockers, other guys that could potentially be in Lefty McKee's portfolio of pitchers that make him money? Yes. And it will come out. And when it comes out, we will be on it.
Mother trucking Durangelo. Let's go, baby.
Gas.
Gas. Okay. Play of the month, Lefty. What's your play of the month here, brother?
My play of the month I'm pretty excited about, because it's a guy that I really, really liked a couple of years ago. And then last year it was just like, wah, wah, but I think this time we've had enough hype blow off. We've had enough quarterbacks come up. We've had all of his cards come out. And I think I'm ready to buy back in, specifically because Drew Brees loves him. I saw a podcast this morning where Drew Brees was going off about this dude. And he's like, if I could take any quarterback in the NFL over the next 5 years, this is who I'm taking. And he picks CJ Stroud. The Texans are going to put players around this guy. They have had franchise quarterbacks in the past, and I think this is another CJ Stroud is still that guy, I believe. So I am interested in going to – it is a graded to graded play on our listings at Sports Card, or our rankings on Sports Card Strategy, or on nooffseason.com. This is in the graded to graded section. So the 2023 Prism Variation 302 PSA 10 target cost over the last 30 days is $230. There's not a whole lot of these listed, but the ROI is conservatively at 18%. I would imagine that that's going to sell for higher than that in August. That's just my personal opinion. I think this is too conservative, good enough for me to want to try to be into this. And I'm interested enough in this to try to do a raw to grade play on this potentially as well, with the selling marker being August and September. I really like CJ Stroud. I like the image variation. I think the prism with the black background and him standing there looks like a really sweet card that I think is going to be marketable. And he has a bunch of cards that don't look good, and this one I think looks really good. And so for it being a variation, and for it being in the target cost that I like to buy into, I really like that $250 range to sell at a potential $400 range. I know that's like that's not exactly where this card is at, but go ahead and just look at, I think the links here, if you want to pull it up.
I pulled it. I got it up. I mean, it's like, I think it's a great call by you. It's only pop 586. This sold for $600 during the midseason dip when he really wasn't playing that well.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
now we're in the off season where no one's thinking about him. And Lefty's saying, hey, it's a little bit of a go where they ain't kind of a thing. $232 last sale.
The 365-day chart on this on Market Movers is breathtaking. That's exactly where I want to be buying in at. Is following that trend line. I think this is at its bottom.
I love it. Great play. Great play. So many great tips on this show. How about you give us a tip? Go to tips.sportscardstrategy.com. Donate whatever amount you can to help us continue to bring you great sports card content regularly. And if you want an extra edition of this show weekly, go premium at nooffseason.com. Right now, you get the Friday premium podcast for premium members. That's where we answer an unlimited amount of your questions. So you get kind of double bonus there. You not only get an extra podcast, but you also get us answering your questions, however many you want. So, all right, quick L of the month for me. We've got L's and W's coming up. I'm making the 2018 Shohei Bowman paper play, card number 49. I submitted 5 to PSA. I got my grades back. A 7 and 8. A 7, 2 8s, and 2 9s. So no gems. So that's an L. And then Victor Wembanyama 2023 Topps Chrome Refractor submitted 2. One got a 9, one got a 6. There you go. Those are L's. So not much more to say about it other than those are L's, and you just got to keep playing the game. Lefty, what's your L from the past month?
Yeah, I talked about about a month ago where I went to a local card shop and I bought a Wemby Silver 10 and then I bought a Curry Rookie Raw, where I was hoping that the Curry Rookie Raw getting a 9 would give me enough profit to wash it all. And I thought it looked really good. I thought at worst I could break even with an 8. The PSA was harder on the edges than I thought they were going to be, and it turned out to be a PSA 7. Currently, the way that I'm going to go about this is this whole play was bad for me because Wemby got hurt a week after I bought his card, and then this Curry didn't grade like I wanted it to. We do have L's, and so for this one with the raw price and the $59.99 grading fee because of the price of the card, this is just going to end up me selling it when during the playoffs when Curry's in that first round matchup, and I'm just going to get what I can get back for it. Everyone's going to want to buy a Curry rookie card, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just probably going to buy it now and set it for a price that I want to get out of it.
Well, the question that I'm asking myself, and the question that I'll also ask you is: are you going to crack them out and sell them raw? Crack it out and sell it raw, or are you going to sell it as the PSA 7? I'm still debating on mine, the ones I just listed off. What I'm going to do.
I think for this one that it's a low enough of a pop count card that I think it's okay to keep it in a 7, because I still think I could get the same amount of money for a raw card, and I think there's less speculation on a card like this. If it was more modern than this, you know, like the Curry card being from an era that still had a lot of fakes and trimmings, I think that people would be more worried about seeing a raw card of this card on eBay. I think it's gonna potentially be better marketed in a PSA 7 than a raw, but that's just
that's a good
not
point.
in person.
Yeah, I think like my cards might be worth selling raw. Yours probably isn't, just because of the type of card that it is. It's a little older, and it's a GOAT, so more likely to be altered or trimmed or something like that. Sparta Sports Cards in the house got slaughtered on a recent grading submission. Sorry to hear that. It happens. I mean, you can't win them all. There's some submissions where you just like the whole thing blows. And then there's obviously some submissions that are like 50-50. But again, when you play the game all the time and you play it the way that we play it and that we, I guess, hope/teach/coach you all, help you all to play it, I think you win. You win more than you lose. So, but you got it. But Lefty's right. I mean, we have losses. All right, let's talk about some wins. So my win from the past month was I sold my 1985 Star Last 11 Rookie of the Year's Michael Jordan, card number 1 in PSA 6. I sold it on eBay. I bought this at Culture Collision for $1,600 cash, and I sold it on eBay for a total sale price of $2,175. Now I like to show you guys how this all works. So shipping was $5.75. Sales tax was $163.56. So the total that eBay collected was $2,344.31. Now, the total that I got after the transaction fees of $311, because obviously I don't get the sales tax, which was $163. The state government gets that. I get the shipping, but I have to pay shipping, so that's kind of a wash. What I have to pay out is the $311.02, and actually my shipping label cost $8.03. So the shipping, I actually lost $3 on the shipping, which is not that big of a deal. But my total order earnings is $1,861.70. Again, I paid $1,600 cash for it at Culture Collision. So my total net profit, $261.70. Now that's a win for me. That's a win, right? That's total net profit, $261.70. All I had to do was have fun at a card show and then sell the card later on eBay, and it worked out well. Is it? I mean, I think it's just under 20%. That's pretty good. I'll take it. I'm not looking to hold the Michael Jordan card. At the end of the day, it's $1,861 back in my bank account with a total net profit of $261.70. So I'm excited about it. Lefty, what's your W? Take it away, man.
Yeah, this is going to be a further explanation of my Cooper Flagg haul that we made from earlier this year. So I have the numbers that I'm calculating here is just my Cooper Flagg one, the very first play. I did make another play on Cooper Flagg, but this is just the numbers from the first card. All in with grading fees, I'm $1,606 invested in this play. So quite a big investment for me at this point in my career. I had 60 of these graded and 45 of them came out as 10s. So all the data that I am going to share with you right now is going to be just on the 10s. So the $92 is the average of the last 3 sales of the PSA 10 of this, and they were all sold this morning from when I looked at this. So a $92 average on where this card is being sold at, and I paid $22, I believe, a piece for these cards with grading fees. Say that they give me a buyout. I already can see that they have buyouts ready, because the reason why I say this is my cards have been graded and shipped to the vault, and they are in the process of being shipped to the vault. So like it just says to vault right now. I can already see that they have 55 offers ready for me, but I don't have the cards in the vault. So it won't show me A, what the prices they're offering, or B, what card it is, but I know my cards offerings went from like 10 to 55, and all I did was move these cards over. So I know this is the card that they are going to potentially offer me a buyout on. So Paul, let's just say they're offering me a buyout around $70 conservatively. These cards are going around, the average of the last 3 sold were $92. Let's say that they give me a buyout around $70 conservatively. That is a total of $3,150. If I press sold on $70 for all 45 of those, that's a profit margin of $1,543.80. Or if I risk selling them, and if I auction them this week, say that they get there today, they have another game later this week, they could win, they could lose. Honestly, Arizona is a kind of a scary matchup for them because they've already played them. That means if they do sell for around $92, that could be a profit margin of $2,533. So $1,000 more, but the risk is there. You know, like if he loses this week and the auctions finish next Monday, do you think I would end up selling them for less than $70 take home money? So that, and all of this is all with the 15 nines would just be profit on top. So What do you think? Where are you at with this?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. An incredible breakdown there. So this is card number 1, correct, in PSA 10? Where he's like gliding the dunk. Yeah. So Cooper Flagg Bowman U now, card number 1, PSA 10. Okay. The reality is this is a $65 card. He played very well so far in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. We're seeing a bit of a performance spike according to Lefty with the $92 average of the last 3 sales. I've been doing a little research while Lefty's talking. What I see is that I see auctions still ending closer to the $65, $70 point, but probably buy it nows are the ones like I do see a $129.99 sale, right? So like Lefty's right in his average, you know what I mean? But I'm seeing a $129.99 sale in there as well, and some other higher ones. Like I'm seeing a $102.40 sale. So I think when you dig into how do you sell these cards in bulk, I still think auction is the way that you sell them in bulk for in general. So I think that for most people, they're going to end around $65 to $70, which is still a win. But to get that $92 average, I think you have to have some buy it nows in there. So maybe you sprinkle in some auctions amongst your buy it nows. Now the risk there is you kind of already hit on is like these things are like there's so many of these and there's so short of a window between now and the next game for Duke. Does he continue to play well to where the value goes up, or does he not? He could play well, but isn't he like averaging a triple double or something close to that? Like
he's balling. That's what I do know. He's balling.
So I think I could be wrong because my source, I love my son, but he's typically accurate. But I think my son told me that Cooper Flagg is averaging a triple double in the tournament. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't fact check my son, but he's balling. We know he is. Here's where I'm going to go with this. I think so. Lefty's mentioned offers from PSA from his vault. What are those offers exactly? Like they're all the same offer, obviously. So what's the offer again?
They haven't been revealed yet because they're not in the vault, but I can for some reason, I don't know if it's a glitch or something. I can tell on the app.
See that there's offers there. You just
54 offers, but if I click on it, they're not there yet.
They're not there. Yeah. Okay. So I was just
my
real answer would
be 70.
If they are offering you 65 or 70 for all of them, I would take that because I think that's where your auctions are going to end. So that takes the risk off the table.
Yeah.
At the price, realistically, it's a $65 card.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that you or any of our listeners can't sell it for $109.99 in a buy it now. You just have to list it and see what happens. So I think if maybe the real answer is since you have so many of them, you list a ton of them and buy it now, and then you list the rest. You have 40 PSA 10s. So maybe you 45. Save 10 for offers, and then you do 15 auctions, 15 buy it nows, and then roll that way. See what happens. I don't think Duke loses in the Elite Eight. Right. I don't think they lose in the first game this weekend. I think Duke is going to be, we all know I'm a Michigan State fan. I think Duke is the only team that would give Michigan State trouble right now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of scared of Duke.
As my champion. So I think this team's going to go all the way. I just am most nervous about Arizona because they've already played them.
Now I will say one thing back to your PSA vault offers. My PSA app shows that I have 19 offers, but I don't even have any cards in my vault. So I don't know that you're going to get those offers. I think it might be a glitch with the PSA app right now.
Maybe it is.
Brian Bartunik is kind of saying the same thing. He hasn't had any offers yet. Derek Hagan, if available, buy it now is 92 and you still make less than 80 with selling. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a $65 card, but I think maybe you can, because some of them have gone up to $129.99, list some at buy it now there and see if you can get. My thoughts
where I was going to list 5 as a buy it now, auction 10, and sell all the other ones if they give me an availability for that.
Where else would you get this kind of content? Everybody. I mean, come on. Isn't this the best?
The best.
This is the best. Lefty, you're the best.
Either way,
the Card Society is saying, be careful with Ole Miss, tremendous tournament coach. Yeah, I mean, look, that's who Michigan State has on Friday night. I definitely agree that, like, especially, like, I was scared crapless on Friday night against Bryant, for crying out loud. So I'm definitely not writing off Ole
they
Miss.
scared you in that Big Ten tournament, didn't they?
The opening like 10 minutes was just Bryant was dominating Michigan State. But anyway, I think Lefty, keep us updated on that.
And the fact of the matter is, I still have a pending Cooper Flagg shoe card coming with all those anyway.
Oh my God, that's such a huge win. You just absolutely. So hey, win of the month, Lefty won big time.
Yeah.
Especially with the shoe, that's unbelievable. I can't wait to see the shoe situation. Whether you're a beginner re-entering the hobby or an advanced sports card flipper, our team of experts invites you to a webinar to help you learn how to make money flipping sports cards. Live on April 11th at noon Eastern time, but available via recording if you can't make it live. Only $15, and premium members can use their member points to get it for free. Get it free of charge. Register now at nooffseason.com/webinar. This is one webinar that won't make you want to poke your eyes out. All right, eBay tip of the month is up next. This is pulled from Sports Card School. We're going to play it, and then Lefty and I are going to wrap up the show. So let's bring in how to identify when to buy and sell the right card for the right player at the right time, directly from Sports Card School, giving all of you a little taste of what's behind the paid wall at nooffseason.com. Let's get into it here. What's up, everybody? The right players, the right cards, and the right time is something that you hear me talk about often. How do we identify the right player? We're going to break it up by a few different categories. The first category is pro basketball. So we want to identify players with high draft capital. They need to be athletic and dynamic scoring guards. Their rookie season needs to be completed and over. All of their rookie cards need to have been on the market for at least 3 months. So this is anybody who's not currently a rookie, but that obviously we're targeting their rookie cards, which we're going to get into in a second. And they need to have been on the market for at least 3 months, all of their rookie cards. So they need to be the top player on their NBA team or approaching that trajectory. They need to be either the undisputed top player on their NBA team, or they need to be on the trajectory to quickly become the top player on their NBA team. And their NBA team needs to have a chance to outperform their previous season's results. So to make money on players' sports cards, you don't necessarily need to have somebody who's going to win the NBA title, but you need to have someone who's going to drastically outperform their previous season's results. So this is how to identify the right player for pro basketball. Now we're going to get into how to identify the right card. It needs to be one of these cards. It needs to be a rookie Prism Silver PSA 10, a rookie Optic Hollow, which says Prism on the back, PSA 10. It needs to be a Contenders or Contenders Optic Rookie Ticket Auto, raw or graded. It needs to be a rookie Kaboom, raw or graded, or it needs to be a rookie patch auto from National Treasures, impeccable or flawless. Now, just so everybody knows, the Prism Silver actually says Prism on the back. So while it's called a Prism Silver, it's actually a Prism. And if it's already graded a PSA 10 by PSA, then it's going to say Prism Silver on the label. Same with Optic Hollow. It's going to say Prism on the back, but on the label, it's going to say Optic Hollow. Now, let's talk about the right time to buy pro basketball cards, because when we talk about the right time, we're talking about two different timings. We're saying when to buy and when to sell. So pro basketball, buy cards in between Halloween and New Year's Day. Or other buying markers when the prices are generally lower are July, August, and September. Ensure that the cards you're buying have a clear selling marker related to the player. And note that basketball is the hardest sport to identify a clear selling marker for. Now, in terms of selling pro basketball cards, when's the right time to sell pro basketball cards? During the opening week of the NBA regular season games, sometimes late February, but definitely when a player has a performance spike, when a player wins a large award or recognition, especially that they've never won before. Sell when a player gets traded. But again, basketball is the hardest sport to identify a clear selling marker. So now we're going to move into pro football. We like high draft capital quarterbacks. Their rookie season has to be over. All of their rookie cards have to have been on the market for at least 3 months. We prefer dual threat quarterbacks with a solid offensive line. Their NFL team has to have a chance to outperform their previous season's performance. And or they play in a big market like Dallas, New York, Pittsburgh, or Green Bay. Now, Green Bay is not a big market, neither is Pittsburgh per se, but they are big markets related to their NFL fan base worldwide, and that's what we're talking about. Now, how to identify the right pro football card? It's going to be very similar to the right pro basketball card. We're talking about a rookie Prism Silver PSA 10, talking about a rookie Optic Hollow PSA 10, a Contenders or Contenders Optic rookie ticket auto, raw or graded, a rookie Kaboom, raw or graded, or a rookie patch auto from National Treasures, impeccable or flawless. Now, in terms of the right time to buy pro football, we're looking at between Halloween and New Year's Day. Now, this is data driven. Buying in March, buying in June, buying cards of players who missed the playoffs in late January, and ensuring the cards you're buying have a clear selling marker related to the player. Now, in terms of selling pro football cards for a profit, we like selling during the NFL hype cycle in August. We like selling cards during the NFL draft hype cycle in April or May. Then, of course, there's performance spikes, large awards recognition, or when a player gets traded. Those last three are a little bit harder to predict. Okay, now how to identify the right player for pro baseball? Our next category. We want high draft capital. We want hitting, focused infielder or outfielder. We want top prospects on the MLB Top 100 who have not been called up yet. That's the key. We want an expected arrival date in the MLB of the next 12 months. We don't have to wait too long or else we risk everyone having prospect fatigue and losing interest and hype in that player. That's why that's critical. We want a non-pitcher. Now, in terms of the right card, it's pretty simple for pro baseball. We want Bowman Chrome first prospect autos or serial numbered. We want them raw or graded. We want Bowman Chrome first prospect base PSA 10s, which have a little bit of a lower entry point but a lower ceiling. We want Bowman Chrome first prospect base Sapphire Edition PSA 10s. We want Bowman Chrome first prospect refractor PSA 10s. Or we want Bowman Chrome first prospect serial numbered variation PSA 10s. How to identify the right time for buying the right cards of the right players? We want to buy singles when they've been on the market for at least 3 months. We want to buy cards between Halloween and New Year's Day. Now, we did also talk in the guideline strategies and plays about buying Bowman draft singles when they originally hit the market. And if they hit the other guidelines that we're talking about for the right player, then that can be a safe play because if we look at guys like Jackson Holiday, his cards just have risen ever since his card singles hit the market. And so there's multiple buying windows and it can be acceptable for a particular situation to buy when their Bowman draft singles hit the market, even though we don't really recommend that for other sports. Now, in terms of the right time for selling, it's basically when they're called up. You know, it's always when they're called up, sell. But there are situations for current MLB stars where you missed the call-up window, where you can sell in March, you can sell in July, you can sell during a performance spike, you can sell during a large award recognition, or you can sell when a player gets traded or moves teams in the hot stove season. Now, we got to get into college football next, because college football is not an area that other content creators in the hobby typically talk about in terms of making money, but we do. We're big into college football cards because of the Bowman Chrome University firsts. Now that they're licensed, they really have some value. So when we talk about college football players, we're looking at a quarterback projected to be a top 5 to 10 NFL draft pick in the next 12 to 18 months. Now, the reason we say this is because you'll see Bowman Chrome University releases come out, and we don't know when these players are going to go pro. So we don't want to wait too long. We don't want this to be a situation where we buy a Bowman Chrome University first auto of someone and they are 3 years away from the NFL, for example. So we want to look at resources that project when a player will enter the NFL draft and make our decisions on them being the right player based on that as well. It can also be a wide receiver in the same situation as the quarterback. If there's a little bit of Heisman hype around this player, it also helps just because it gives us potentially more sell markers. And if it's a top program with a large following, then we have more of a collector base who's interested in this card. In terms of the right card, college football, we're going to be looking at Bowman Chrome University first prospect autos, raw or graded. And if it has serial numbers, it's even better because that means it's a lower print run. There's more demand and less supply on the market for those cards. Now, in terms of the right card, there can be situations where a player has an exclusive deal with a different card company in terms of autographs and may not appear in the Bowman Chrome University releases. And so in those cases, you do need to do a little bit of research around where those cards exist. Sometimes they can be licensed by other manufacturers and sometimes they can be unlicensed. So you could have a situation where the right card is not a Bowman Chrome First University prospect auto, but we are focusing on that because with these, you can't really go wrong as long as you got the right player. Okay, how to identify the right time to buy. So 3 months after singles of a new release hit the market is a good general guideline for this. Buy cards in late January, in March, and in June as well. So if you can hit both of those different guidelines in here, then you have a good chance of winning. In terms of when to sell, you're looking at selling pretty much always during the NFL draft hype cycle in April or May for when that particular player is expected to be in the NFL draft. You will know because they will have been in the combine, they'll be in the news in terms of mock drafts and things like that. when they expect to be picked. So you will know. And then selling cards during the NFL hype cycle in August before the pro releases come out would definitely be like the next and probably last sell marker for these cards, because the pro uniform releases are going to come out in September. So you're going to need to move out of these cards likely by early May, mid-May, and again in August if you have not moved out of them in mid-May. So depending on what you paid for the card and what you could sell it for, you could consider selling when the player has a performance spike earlier during their college season, or when they win a large award or recognition if they win the national championship in college. Those would be performance-based, timely selling markers to offload the card if you notice that the card starts to sell for more than what you paid for it and you want to crystallize the profit early. And then the last category, we will look at basketball related to college basketball and prospect cards. So obviously not everyone plays college basketball that makes it to the NBA. That's very much an even split between like the G League, Europe, and college. So really we feel like this is the last category that we wanted to hit on, really, because other than Victor Wembanyama and Bronny James and maybe Caitlin Clark, there just haven't been a lot of people that have moved the needle in terms of this category. A guy like Cooper Flagg in the future, if he does have Topps Chrome All-American releases and Bowman Chrome University firsts, could be another person to keep an eye on in the future. But we don't normally name names here, but we're going to name names because it's very, very narrow in terms of who can move the needle. In terms of the right time to buy, we want to do 3 months after singles of a new release hit the market. Identifying the right card, we want to look at Topps Chrome, McDonald's All-American, autos, raw, or graded. But better than that would be the Bowman Chrome University First Prospect Autos Raw or Graded, because that typically will supersede the McDonald's All-American release. And then in terms of when you want to sell, you basically want to get rid of everything either on NBA Draft Night or during NBA Summer League performance spikes. But again, we don't know when the NBA Summer League performance spikes will happen or if they will happen. So we really think selling on NBA Draft Night is the way to move out of those cards. So this has been identifying the right players, the right cards, and the right time. And these really are the guidelines related to these 3 critical factors needed in order to make money flipping sports cards. So we're going to keep it moving here at Sports Card School. Everybody, thanks so much, and stay tuned. There you go with a little snippet from Sports Card School. Obviously, there's a lot in there that is kind of like the bumper bowling of the sports card strategy at nooffseason.com. And what I mean by that is we're really trying to mitigate your losses. When you go through Sports Card School, we're really trying to help you make strategic decisions to mitigate your losses. And I think the common theme that you'll see over and over again with our content is that it really does depend on your own individual scenario, the exact card that you're looking at, the exact card that you're looking at buying, or the exact card that you own, exactly what time of year it is, what's coming up, all these different factors. But I do feel overall like that lesson has held accurate. I mean, I think, Lefty, believe it or not, I think I originally filmed that lesson in early 2024 or late 2023. And I've watched it continuously over the last couple of years to make sure that I'm not missing anything or that there's nothing critical that I really need to update about it. And I think other than like, you know, maybe baseball wanting to sell a lot more of your baseball cards leading up to the season, which we've talked about on today's show. And then obviously like the Jackson Holiday reference in there was a reference to him being a prospect at the time. He wasn't in the bigs yet, but yeah, I mean, overall, do you have anything to add with the how to buy and sell the right card for the right player at the right time?
No, I mean, I think that's one of my favorite videos to also think about, is because like we can get too much fixated on one specific name or one specific guy. And if we just continually went back to that checklist and say, oh, does he do this, and this, that would help all of our other shill bids that we've done for all of the other stuff, you know, bad purchases that we've made or that we've like talked ourselves into doing. It would help us a lot if we just all continually went back to that video. So.
Well, thank you again for everybody out there joining us on this edition of the Sports Card Strategy Show. There's a lot of great sports happening this time of year. There's a lot of great stuff happening in the hobby. We definitely love that you're part of the nooffseason.com family, and we hope that you keep listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Everybody, thanks again. Thanks, Lefty, McKee, and everybody else here at nooffseason.com. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. If you enjoyed the content on today's show, there's plenty more waiting for you at nooffseason.com. Just go to nooffseason.com right now and get a free 30-day trial. You get our formula-based sports card rankings, Sports Card School, inventory tracker, the ability to grade with us, and the premium podcast where we answer an unlimited amount of your questions. Check it out right now at nooffseason.com. For everyone at nooffseason.com, I'm Paul Hickey. Thanks again for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day.